One of the first and most important aspects to creating cinematic videos is learning great composition. Composition being the arrangements of elements within a photo or a video. So today I want to share with you my top 5 composition rules or guidelines of composition. And there are more elements than just the ones that I am listing. I might talk about these in a future video. So keep watching and stay tuned because there's a lot of good information coming up. Rule number 1 is to fill the frame with your subject in your video. Don't give any unnecessary dead space with unimportant details. It's one thing if you want a wide shot displaying all the details everywhere, that's fine. But if your shot is meant to be focused on one specific subject like this one is right now, zoom in or get closer. You don't want to be lazy capturing things from a distance with your subjects tiny in the frame. Essentially, if there are details that aren't helping you tell your story, then eliminate them. Rethink your framing and get closer. The second rule is to create depth. There's 2 main ways to do this. You can use a lower aperture or you can add foreground. I don't know why I did that, that's distracting. Using a lower aperture will result in a shallower depth of field, also known as background blur. My camera controls aperture automatically, but I can control shutter speed and ISO. But there are other ways to create depth. Always look for opportunities to add layers to your image that will make it 3-dimensional. For example, having foreground, midground, and background. Rule number 3 is the rule of thirds. So if you were to chop your frame up into thirds, you'd put points of interest on these lines. In landscapes, you want to keep the horizon line on one of these thirds, not in the center. And you'd put people on one of the vertical lines with their eyes close to the top horizontal line to give them enough lead room or looking room. Looking room is basically the space where your subject is looking. So I'm facing this way. This is my looking room. If I were to be facing this way, I wouldn't have enough looking room and the shot feels weird. But of course, feel free to make artistic choices with this if you want to. Rule number 4 is leading lines. In other words, you can use lines to draw attention to the center of the frame or to your subject. Lines can be a very helpful visual aid to draw your eye into the center or to your subject, and can also contribute to creating depth as well. So when shooting, I'm always looking for bridges or fences or sidewalks or any natural lines around me to create depth to my image and lead my viewer's eyes into the center of the frame or to the subject of the video. Rule number 5 is focus. You can follow all these rules, but if your shot is out of focus, then it's just unusable. For example, if you are in the editing room and you realize that your shot is out of focus, then you might want to use a different take. Or if you're shooting and you notice that it's out of focus, then you might want to reshoot it. This is why I'm a firm believer in using autofocus and having a good autofocus system. It's nice to not have to worry about focus and instead focusing on your framing and your composition. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 rules of composition. Again, these aren't the only rules. These, in my opinion, are just the top 5. I do plan on making one soon with 5 more composition tips. But that's it for my top 10 rules. Comment a question for me in the comments. I read all of them. So stay creative and stay safe, and I'll see you in next week's video.